The beeping of machines echoed through the cold, dimly lit hospital room, but nothing was louder than the trembling breath of the woman in the crimson silk dress sitting at the edge of the bed. Her fingers clutched the fabric over her heart as if holding herself together. And standing in front of her, frozen, was the last person anyone expected to see on a night like this, a muscular medic, still in his black uniform, hair messy from rushing over, eyes filled with something deeper than worry. As she whispered, "Please, just make it fast," the medic felt the floor drop beneath him. She wasn't just any patient. She was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the city. And more painfully, she was the woman he once loved and lost. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. It really helps the channel grow and reach more hearts. The medic's name was Ethan Blake, a single dad who had been juggling night shifts, school lunches, and overdue bills ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier. Life had chipped away at him, but his daughter Lily's smile always kept him standing, even on nights when exhaustion blurred his vision. He had learned to be strong, calm, and composed no matter what emergency came through the hospital doors. But nothing prepared him for this moment, seeing Claire Donovan again. The Claire Donovan. Sharp-minded. Unstoppable. The woman who once told him he was too soft for her world, too burdened by responsibilities, too tied down. She left him to chase power and success, leaving Ethan to pick up the pieces of a heart she didn't wait to understand. Yet now, she didn't look powerful. She looked terrified. She had come to the hospital alone, wearing a dress meant for a corporate gala, only to collapse backstage from pain and strain she had been ignoring for months. The doctors were short-staffed. The city was in chaos after a major accident. And Ethan was the only medic available for immediate triage. But instead of the elegant, controlled executive everyone admired, Ethan saw a woman trembling, her shoulders rising and falling with sharp breaths, fear pooling in her eyes. She wasn't asking for a quick treatment. She was begging him to hurry because she didn't trust herself not to fall apart in front of him. Ethan slowly took off his jacket, not as a medic, but as someone who once knew her by heartbeat. He placed it gently around her shaking shoulders, the warmth surprising her into stillness. The moment he did, something shifted in the air. The tension dissolved enough for Claire to exhale, her head dropping as though she had been carrying a whole world alone. And Ethan realized she wasn't battling just physical pain. She was battling the consequences of a life spent pretending not to need anyone. As he examined her vitals, Ethan saw the truth in her eyes, exhaustion, loneliness, and fractures invisible to the medical machines. Claire had built a colossal empire but lost every personal connection along the way. She was surrounded by people daily, yet none of them knew her well enough to notice when her hands started shaking in board meetings or when she secretly left lunches untouched because her appetite had faded with stress. She whispered that tonight's gala was supposed to announce the company's biggest expansion, but instead she found herself on a hospital bed, and the only person who came to her rescue was the men she once pushed away. Ethan worked quickly but gently, explaining each step as he stabilized her condition. Claire watched him with a mixture of guilt and awe, noticing the dark circles under his eyes, the small stain on his shirt from Lily's paint project, the stamina of a man who gave everything even when he had almost nothing left. She wondered how she once believed he wasn't strong enough. Because standing in front of her now was the strongest man she had ever seen, strong enough to forgive, strong enough to come running even after heartbreak, strong enough to keep living with a kindness the world didn't deserve. As the pain eased and her breathing steadied, the room felt warmer. Claire didn't feel like a CEO anymore. She felt like a woman who had been starving for someone to look at her, not her power, not her money, just her. And Ethan did. He always had. She apologized in a trembling whisper, admitting she had been wrong about what mattered. She had chased achievements because she thought success would make her untouchable, but instead it had made her fragile. She said that the moment she saw Ethan walk in, relief washed over her for the first time in years. Ethan didn't blame her. Life had shaped them differently. But he reminded her that vulnerability wasn't weakness. That asking for help didn't make her small. That she wasn't alone, not tonight, not anymore. And when he reached out to steady her shaking hands, Claire broke down softly, not out of pain, but out of the realization that someone still cared enough to hold her together. He stayed with her long after the treatment ended, telling her about Lily and how fatherhood had saved him from drowning. Claire listened with a gentle, rediscovered smile, the kind Ethan hadn't seen since they were young. In that quiet room, surrounded by 4 pumps and soft hospital lights, something beautiful began repairing itself, not romance necessarily, but understanding. Healing. Grace. By the time Claire was strong enough to sit up properly, she looked at Ethan with gratitude that spilled deeper than words. She promised to slow down, to take care of herself, to stop letting her worth be measured in deadlines and numbers. And Ethan nodded, knowing this moment had changed them both. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps us bring more emotional, meaningful stories to you. Special request, before the video ends, comment below, healing begins when the heart is seen. And with that, the night that began with fear ended with hope, proof that sometimes the person you once lost becomes the anchor you never expected to find again.